So we've had two individuals sign up to speak. We'll start with them, and then we'll open it up for any other questions or comments. Ms. Eleanor O'Connor.
I live in Skyline, and I'm definitely against the 1 cent sales tax. But actually, I really wanted to address the newspaper ad for the resolution. When do you expect to have a vote on this?
If everything goes as planned, it would be in September 1st of October. We'll just have to wait and see when it passes, if it passes the legislature.
So your fiscal year starts again October 1st, correct?
Correct, yes.
Why don't you just wait till the March primary and not have extra fees for having a special election, which I'd really like to know what it would cost the county to have a special election.
It would cost the county approximately $80,000 to have a special election. We feel it's an investment worth making. The reason that we need to do it as early as possible, if it does pass in October or September, whenever that's held, it will not go in effect until the following January. The reason we wish to pursue that early on is because we're running out of a piggy bank. The piggy bank's almost empty. We need to know as quickly as possible whether this is the solution or whether we need to go ahead and cut the funds.
So what about the people in this county whose piggy banks are even less than yours are? They can't afford another $10 on $100 worth of groceries.
And if they decide that that's not for them, it'd be $1 on $100 for a grocery. But if they decide, that's why we're leaving it to the people to make that decision. It'd be $10 on $1,000.
My next question is, you've got on here that says, on the ballot used in the election, the proposition to be voted on shall be stated substantially as follows. Do you favor the local law authorizing the county commission to levy sales and use tax of 1 cent for the general operation of the county? Yes or no? Is that really how it's going to be worded?
That is the exact wording that will be on, whatever is on the law is the exact wording that will be on the ballot. We have to do it as per the law.
That's the exact word.
Yes. Anything else? All right, Ms. Kim Chapman.
I'm from Skyline also, and I'm against it. I recently done a survey and for the last few weeks, and I've been around the county. I went to restaurants and gas stations, just all over grocery stores, asking even strangers how did they feel about it. And I haven't found one person that really wants it. So,
I think you're fine. We don't want it.
I know, I understand. But here's some of the reasons. One is the average family income is $37,634. That's your average family income in the county. I'm going to say it one more time. The average family income in Jackson County is $37,634. And also I researched almost 1/3, it's 30.9% of the county families are on fixed income or below poverty level. So you need to take that into consideration, because these people are, they having a hard time. But here I wanted to say, these families are paying for your salaries and employees for the county. But here are the county official salaries that were printed in the papers. County engineer, $158,000, and I rounded it off to the nearest, $158,000. Probate judge makes $99,000. Revenue commissioner, $91,000. County administrator, $70,000. County commission chairman, $70,000. And the thing of it is, you can't expect these people, because they're just making average. You guys are almost making some of you are almost making 3 times or even more than what an average person in this county makes.
You said the average is 37, correct?
Yeah, 37,634 is on the statistics. So for what you're going to take away from that family in 1 year is $376. That's a lot of money for somebody that's in poverty level. That's 1% of 37,000.
We're not taking 1% of their income, though. We're taking 1% of
The sales, I know, but if they spend their money, which they do, they'll spend their money mainly in Jackson County. Most people do, buying groceries, gas, and stuff like that. But anyhow, it's going to take a lot of money away from them. And has any of you guys ever went and volunteered at the food banks here in different areas? I mean, but it's astonishing the people that are just starving for food, and then I just can't see you guys, asking these people that are below income Some of them poverty level, some of them, don't make as near as much as you guys, some of you guys over there. A 1 cent's gonna really hurt them. It wouldn't, I don't think it's gonna hurt somebody that makes $70,000 or $90,000 or $158,000 a year. They're not really gonna see it. But these people that are in poverty level, that are making average, it's gonna hurt us. It's really gonna hurt us. And I just wish you guys wouldn't pass it. So that's all I have to say.
It is going to be up to the people to make that decision. Again, the dollars we want to spend this on, economic and industrial development, the goal is to get higher paying and better paying jobs in Jackson County, which we hope will help everybody out. So that, to me, is an important aspect of this, and something that is going to help that median household income.
Well, the EDA gets over $300,000 from the TDA new tax, and over half of that is salaries. And what have they brought in the last 4 or 5 years? Have they brought any high-paid jobs?
KTNA, Sano has expanded several times in the industrial park. John's Manville actually going through another expansion right now in the industrial park. If you look at what's happened, a lot of expansion has been done locally, but that's been stuff done supported by our EDA.
Well, I read in our statistics that Scottsville is not growing, neither is Jackson County.
If you look at the sales tax revenue, I think you'll see that something's happening, that spending has increased. There's some benefit there, something positive is going on because revenue has increased.
Well, I know there's a lot of people that have to go out of the county to work, out of the state to work to get the high-paying jobs.
And that's why we want to bring those here.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to reiterate one thing. We're not passing the tax. We're passing a resolution for people to vote on this. It's everybody's opinion, everybody's vote counts. This commission is not passing the tax. We're passing a proposal for the people of this county to vote on. This is about choices, where we go in the future.
Can I ask one more thing?
Most certainly.
I know that you guys have bought out some early retirement, and I know that helps save some money, but what you didn't mention is that, what I was told, that you hired 2 of them back on a contract, $20,000 a year.
That's still saving us money.
But why didn't you train somebody in that department, whether it be mapping and appraisal or probate judge's department, to do these people's work and not have to hire them back?
We're training someone right now as we speak.
I know, but why didn't they do that before they bought all these out? That's okay, it's 3 years, that's $60,000 for each employee for the next 3 years. That's $120,000.
We're saving $225,000 a year at minimum on these retirements. To do that, we would have had to postpone that retirement incentive. So for the next 3 years, we would have had to spend another $225,000 while we trained them.
It takes a year to train.
No, well, okay, for the next year.
Yeah, but what I would like to say, you knew this is going to come up eventually. Kathy has been there forever, and so has Donna. And they've been there for a long time. You knew eventually they would retire. Why didn't somebody ought to be able to do the same things that they can in that office, that work in that office right now? It's kind of like when, Jeff, for instance, when he was running, and he was the only guy that could do backup. Y'all should have trained somebody, because what happens if somebody gets hurt, can't come? I mean, you need to prepare for those.
I agree that cross-training is essential, and we started to do it in our office. We started to do it in several departments in the county that haven't had that opportunity. All I can say is it's something that hasn't been done, and we are starting to do now. I feel like, though, postponing that, paying an extra $225,000 a year, we did have 2 retire. We replaced it with 1.5 people, essentially. So you're still saving dollars on the decision that you make.
Right.
And that was what it was about. It's about saving dollars, and we felt that was the way to go. So bottom line, if it saves dollars, like I said, we're going to try to do it.
Mapper, if we done the contract with the municipality, he was making he retired, he did it for part-time contract. He was required by the state to have X number of certified mappers per so many thousand months. That's not something we do with regulations.
So you guys are training somebody to do the mapping and appraisal?
Yes, but instead of hiring another mapper and put them on the state department and take their file and everything else, we
years actually to get your state certification, so we've been here 2.5. We couldn't have done that in the time frame.
But you could have put a trouble judge's office, correct?
We're actually not paying for the retired person, the probate judge is kind of.
But you gave the trouble judge the money to, it could come out of our funds.
We have not put a dollar into that. He reimburses us for everything.
Is that the slush fund?
It's called an index fund, it's not a solution fund, it's an index fund,
Index.
recording fund, yeah.
They use that, they're supposed to use that, or have been in the past, to help index a lot of information and to help the county out. We decided to do that for this short period of time until we come up with our solution.
Well, these citizens that I have talked to, they suggested to me that the county commission should evaluate some salaries, positions, and spending to see what the problem is within the county. You know, they think that there's some more.
We've only been here 2 years, and I want to reiterate this. We've been here 2 years, and we are doing just that. We've been doing it since we took office. Government is not fast, but those things that you're alluding to, we've been trying to work on those. That's why we provided the retirement incentive. We're trying to get those higher salaries out of the system and go back to lower ones. And we get the same services and the same quality. So the comments that you're making are very good, but we're doing a lot of those things.
I'll give an example. Our administrator, the administrator we have is making $95,000 a year. Mr. Banning's not making, I think you announced his $70,000. That's nowhere near what it was.
Right.
And our engineer will be retiring, and of course, we'll bring an engineer at a much lower rate than that. So any opportunity we have, we're making those changes.
So, is that, I still haven't figured out why she's gone, and then y'all, settled out of court. You gotta consider that money that you pay out of court. I don't know how much, nobody knows how much that is to y'all, but, y'all did settle out, or, y'all settled out of court, and I'm sure that's a lot of money right there.
The only thing I can say to that is
I know you can't say.
right, there's a huge benefit. The option that we take was a huge benefit to the county, and it's well paid for already. There's been no cost beyond this point for that.
One thing too about the engineer, the state pays 80% of his salary, or 75% of his salary. So we're only paying 25% of it. So
And where does the state get the money from? The taxpayer?
I can't answer for the state. All I can answer for the county.
Why not use the state's salary for the engineer, and then the county doesn't have to pay anything?
It's only 75%. Let's move on. And, are there other questions, comments, criticisms, concerns about any of the issues going on in the sales tax in particular?
Yep. Mr. Chairman, you mentioned 4 areas that the 1% tax would go to. Could you reiterate those areas, please?
Yes, get my notes here. The key areas are obviously maintenance of our roadways, provision for resource officers in our schools, support fire departments throughout the county due to the recent funding changes, assist in community, industrial, and business development, and then to cover the remaining deficit in the general fund and continue our business. So it's actually 5 items that we had. I think the bill listed as 6 because we have community industrial development separated. So 5 items in general that we have that going.
And how much is the deficit again, please?
The remaining deficit at this time is $350,000. We budgeted actually $305,000 for TVA and lieu tax drop again. Thankfully, we were prepared for a portion of that, but not the whole thing, so that increased our actual deficit for the year.
I've got a suggestion for your resource officers. A lot of these schools are in the municipality. Why can't we send one of our officers over there to walk down the school, or, I know ours is not even 5 minutes away.
You see that in the communities that can, I think you see some of that, but they don't have the resources, I understand, to provide a more constant need. Plus, this is a perfect example of a school that has no municipality
Right,
nearby.
I understand that, but there's some that has municipalities, and I don't see
You're on
them.
the town council, or you're sending Alfred there now?
He won't go. I've asked him, we've all asked him, and he won't go. He says that the county doesn't pay his salary. That's what he said. But we
How
tried.
much is the sales, is Penny gonna bring in yearly?
We estimate it'll bring in 3.3 million. That's roughly $60 per citizen per year. If break that out, obviously there are folks that shop outside of Jackson County, and obviously we have a whole lot of folks that pass through Jackson County and pay taxes too. So, but if you're just taking person by person, it'll be $60 per year. Other questions or comments? Yes.
I'm all for the 1% tax. If you figure up the wear and tear on your vehicles, if we can get better roads. I just bought my wife a van a month ago, and driving over these roads up in here where I live, I've already got to put new struts on. That's over $400 for 2 struts. So you figure up 1% of what I'll spend on groceries and stuff and all up here, that's not even gonna compare to what it's gonna cost me to keep my 3 vehicles going in a year. So, I mean, like I say, I'm all for the 1%. If we can have better roads to drive on, and I live in Little Falls subdivision and I still have a dirt road. So I'd be glad to have my road paved. So, until people have to drive on dirt roads, they don't know what it's like anymore. When I have to give directions coming to my house and tell them I live on a dirt road, they look at me like I'm crazy. So, I'll say, I'm all for that 1%. If we can just get better roads. Very good.
Have y'all considered submitting see one of our state representatives is here. Have y'all considered submitting a resolution from the commission to the state requesting an increase in state fuel taxes? And if I'm not mistaken, I think the federal increase was, the last one was 1993 and in the state was 1994. It may be right the opposite, but somewhere in there. Have you considered submitting a resolution requesting a increase in state?
For the state to do it, or
Uh-huh.
for local laws?
No, well, no. For the state to increase fuel tax. It's been what? That's 22 years since there's been any increase in fuel taxes, federal or state, approximately, give or take a year.
I believe there's been some solutions talking about it, we may be able to address.
We're working on a bill right now to increase the gas tax. I don't know what it's going to consist of, but the state's looking into a new gas tax this year. It hadn't come to us for a vote yet, but they are working on it. I can't tell you how much it's going to be or how we're going to do it. So
I think that's the big thing, is the question on that is when will it happen, if it will happen, and all that, so that's why we've not pursued any further. We could obviously probably send a resolution to support that. The question is if or when something like that will happen.
I do look back, it's in 94, I think it was the last time the gas tax went up. We have been going for the February, large concrete, over $20 over $100. On gravel was around $310. But the gas tax would have to be considered to get us up where we need to be maintain it, but let's get ahead of what we get behind.
Other questions or comments?
Is the 1% gonna be on lodging as well?
It will not affect lodging. That would have to be a separate resolution. Again, the reason we haven't pursued multiple items, like trying to pursue lodging or something like that, is we don't want to ask for too many items or something, someone go with this and not go with this. We don't want to confuse the issue. We try to focus on this for now. Lodging tax would be, I think, a good thing to increase. We talked about it a couple of years ago with the plan of producing a couple other items. But understanding the process and understanding how we're going to have to do it, we feel like one solution that can carry us into the future with the sales tax is the way to go. So no, it won't affect lodging. Right, we don't receive any current lodging tax in place. Other questions?
Can you clarify what the payments will be from?
It'll be things like groceries, TVs, anything, basically if you go to Walmart,
Buy a piece of gum?
yeah, anything that you
Anything
buy.
that you
like
purchase.
Cash.
And, there's a lot of discussion about states that reduce that tax on food. I think that'd be something great if we could pursue that in the future. I think you have to look at statewide solutions too, maybe, but there's ideas like that that would reduce that expense on, like you said, the lower income folks, that I think we need to consider for the future. What this law does, it gives us, if passes, gives us the authority to raise up to 1 million. Now, everyone's going to laugh when I say this. Technically, we could reduce that. If we find we're in a situation where our roads are getting repaired in a great manner, we could reduce that. I'm not going to promise what's going to happen. I don't know if I'll be here when that happens. But the possibility is there. The law is flexible to where we can actually change that revenue source if we see that there's a need for that change, or reduce that revenue. Again, I think I've talked with the mayor of Scottsboro. Their sales tax is up 8% this year, so there's things that grow there, and maybe in the future would give the opportunity to reduce the tax on essentials like groceries or different types of items. Other questions or comments? Want to vote?
This may be off the wall, I don't know if I do that. Say if the state tax, what the state is wanting to go up on taxes, the governor talking about, is the county going to get any percentage of that at all?
My understanding, we won't receive any benefit. And I do want to clarify that the governor's proposal has automobile tax. This does not affect automobile sales either. But no, we won't get any tax, as I understand it, off of that.
Everything in his package for the state is make up for the state's list.
Anything else?
Who gets the ad valorem tax on the tax? The county, the state?
Yeah, it's split up between the county, the state, education, municipalities, depending on where you live, all of those different agencies. I could get into the millage, because we don't have a percentage, but we have a millage rate, but that's a little bit, I'd say, out in the county, we get about 1/3 of that millage rate. Within the cities, it's, I think, got a calculation down to 7% of all that you pay. So it's the highest we get is about 30% of what you would pay on your tax. And that's if you live out in the county, within no municipality. Yeah.
How much progress, John Wilder, how much progress have y'all made in getting back tax on coal that we lost? Where you at on that? And the second part of my question is, are we in a position now, once the price per ton of coal goes back up, we're gonna get a lot of coal mining coming out of Vegas where I live? And are we in a position now, we can try to get that money this time?
There is no enforcement mechanism that I know of by the state. We don't have enforcement. We have an enforcement officer that could attempt to do that. The dollars we receive off of coal mining, though, are minimal. That all does go to paving. And I want to say, is 30,000 too low? That sounds about right, what we get about every year on that. About 40,000 a year is what we were getting over the past few years. Now, granted, last year we saw a lot of coal mining shut down. But, that's not even going to cover the roads that those trucks are running on. The few dollars we get on coal mining, doesn't cover that. Questions on whether they're reporting it accurately. Again, we don't have that enforcement capacity to say, you better be putting your numbers out there. That's a state law. They take those dollars and send our portion back.
And the law also requires that any funds derived from that will be used on the coal routes. It's not money that you can put over in a pot.
And you did that last time on County Road 81, we appreciate that. However, so what you're saying, Mr. Hodges, we're depending on them to deal straight with it.
Yes.
Okay, good luck. It ought to be a way somehow.
We can put pressure, but ultimately, we don't have the final authority to do anything. And with our enforcement officer, if we see some of these ramp back up, we will put pressure, to try to put pressure on.
Appreciate it.
anything, yes.
We still don't have a countywide person to write grants,
We don't. We have been encouraging our department heads to take a little bit more of that, and elected officials. I think the sheriff's department, have you received something recently? And I know there's something we're looking at for police officers too. But our department heads, and elected officials too, are looking at more of those opportunities. But right now, we don't have anyone. We have someone that we can call if we find one that's just too difficult for us to get involved with, for us to write ourselves. But such as we did recently, actually, we get the trailers in tomorrow, I think we'll announce here in a minute, for recycling. We got a grant for some recycling. We've tried for some different grants on, was it resource officers? We tried and didn't get at one point. We're approaching a grant to upgrade some equipment at the courthouse. So the things we know about, we are trying to pursue that. We're working with the state, or the U.S. Senator actually has a weekly grant program that comes out. Not so far been a whole lot that will benefit us, but we monitor that. If there's something, again, we can give it to someone to pursue. We don't have a full time person. To answer your question more quickly. I answer these questions elaborately, I know, but there's a lot out there. You know, I like to give as much information as possible so that you kind of see the picture of what we're trying to, or paint a better picture for you.
The county commission got anybody hired to check mobile home tax?
Yes, the license inspector has started that process.
How long ago?
She's been in 3 months, but no, 3 months, I believe she's been in place.
You got plenty of?
Yes, she's already made some headway down in the valley, I know, and she's just working her way up. But she is making some headway. We are seeing some revenue up from that as well.
Should be quite big.
Yeah, we don't get the whole amount, but of course we get helpful.
Right.
And that's a position we want to make sure it pays for itself, and we'll monitor that over the next year or so to see, make sure it pays for itself. But we need to enforce those rules.
I'd just like to reiterate, there's nobody up here who wants this tax. I sure don't. I think we're overtaxed as it is on the federal level. When we come into office, the county was about like the federal government. They spend more money than they take in. This commission has done a good job of cutting waste. We found a lot of ways to cut it. Like the chairman said, we didn't fill positions that we could have filled, but we wanted to do the responsible thing and try to make sure we balance the budget. That was our most important goal. But the reality is either we either cut services more, or we do the 1 cent. Our roads are going to go to dirt. That's the bottom line. Some of our roads, that's the choice we're going to have. If we can only do 8 and 20 of them are bad, some of them just like not getting no attention. Teachers who want resource officers, there's no money for them. So we have to do this if we want resource officers. ISO rates, fire department's going to go up. Unless we pass this, we have a fire department. I don't like it. And that's the reason we agreed we want to put on the ballot. So if people want it, we'll do it. If they don't, they vote it down, we'll make the cuts because we're going to bounce the budget. So that's where we're at. That's all I got.
Mr. Billy?
I just want to thank everybody that did come out. Let you know that if you do have any questions, or contact one of us, or if you're in town, come by the commission office. All of us have a business card in the county with our cell phones on it, emails. We had to try to answer any questions you have. To let you know, I certainly am not want to see more taxes. Like Mr. Griffin says, none of us up here are, but either find some revenue, cut services, personnel, or funding, cut that down. Thank you all for coming out.
Mr. Betty?
Also, thank everybody for coming out. They say we're an open door to see what they're going to put out from the commission office. All of them, congratulations. Any decision to not even engages in contract.
I would also like to thank you for coming. We remember when we leave today, our conversations do not have to stop. If you think of something, if you want to talk to us, we do want your opinion. I want to hear them, because it gives me something to think about sometimes. Decisions that need to be made in the future are not going to be easy. We've got choices to make, and when we make those choices, everyone's going to have to live with it. But I do appreciate you coming out and calling me anytime. Thank you.
Like they said, this is a referendum really on the county's future, of how we want to pursue, the county and how we want it to either grow or how we want to cut back. Whatever the goal is or whatever the case may be, the people of Jackson County are going to have the option to make that decision. The only thing we want, whether you support it or not after leaving here tonight, we just want to know that you have as much information as we can get out to you so that you can make an educated decision. Again, whether you support it or not, I hope that you'll share the information that you have. We just want to get the facts out there. Share the facts. Hopefully folks will talk with other folks about that and get the information out there. And we'll continue to do this. This is the first of several community meetings that we're going to be having, and continue to share that information. And if and when it does come for a vote, obviously, hopefully, all the folks that get out to vote that day, they'll have the facts in hand to be able to make a decision based off of that. I think hopefully we've done a good enough job at that. If not, please, like all of them said, call us, come by the courthouse. There's not a question, I don't think, that we're unwilling to answer about how we've done business. So we'll continue to do that and do our best to be as open as possible and get out that information to you. So that concludes everything that we've got for this evening. Again, we hope that if you have more questions, call us or maybe come to another community meeting. Hope you've got some information tonight to help you make a decision. And with that, we will entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion, we have a second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, say no.